Who does not make mistakes? We all do, right? I made some terrible mistakes while I was a master's student in the US. Some of these mistakes actually began before I even came to the US, and I will discuss all these mistakes that I had made. Now, some of these mistakes are specific to the field in which I got my master's, which was in computer science, but you can actually try and learn from the mistakes even if all those mistakes do not really apply to you. This is Chaitanya Sambhara, faculty at the College of Business, University of Texas, Arlington. So I'm in a different classroom today. I hope that this change of location will actually make it more visually appealing, because some people were commenting that I should actually keep changing my locations and that I should not shoot all the videos from home. See, the thing is that I would also like to shoot outside, but it is really hot, so I prefer indoors for the time being. Now let us get started with the topic of today's video, which is the terrible mistakes that I made as a master's student. The first mistake I made is that I wasted a lot of precious time before I came to the US. By December of 2005, I had mailed in all my applications, and then I was waiting to hear about my admissions. Now, between that time, which is January to August, when I was supposed to stay in India and prepare to come to the US, I did none of that. In fact, I went on pilgrimage. I went to Tirupati, I went to Mathura, I went to Ayodhya. I was traveling all over the place, and I did not spend any time honing my skills. See, the issue with me was that my undergraduate degree was in electronics engineering, and I was shifting to a master's in computer science. Although I cannot say that I had no background. In fact, I took some computer science courses in my undergraduate days, but the degree of master's required better preparation than just a bachelor's in electronics engineering. In fact, the master's in computer science expects that you have proper computer science background in your undergraduate degree. If you do not have that, you will be required to take a lot of prerequisite courses, which are the courses that you should have taken in undergraduate days. If you had not taken those courses in your undergraduate degree, you will be required to take those undergraduate courses in your master's program before you can qualify to take other master's courses. Now, in my undergraduate degree, I did take some courses that included some basic programming, operating systems, and courses like that. But I was ill prepared for a whole master's degree in computer science. Now, what I should have done is that while I was in India and those 6-8 months that I had, I should have spent that much time on improving my programming skills and improving my data structures, algorithms, all those kind of skills. Instead, I did none of that. And then when I came to the US, I was asked to take 5 prerequisite courses. Okay, so I had to take 5 courses at undergraduate level before I could transition to taking master's courses. In my very first semester, I took a course called Data Structures, in which I struggled, but I sailed through. Then I took another course called Programming Language Concepts, which I did horribly in. Third course that I took, I was struggling so much in that class. It was called Network Security or something. I had no background at all to handle that class, and I ended up dropping that class. So in my first semester, I took only 2 courses, which were Data Structures and Programming Language Concepts, and I struggled in both classes. Now, I actually did so bad in my very first semester that I could not get a good grade at all. My second mistake was that I was very ill prepared for the exams in my first semester, and I completely ruined my first semester. I actually did not carefully look at the kind of questions that were asked in exams. I did not consult anybody. I did not ask for anybody's help at all. I did not approach any seniors at all to understand what kind of exams are made. And I went completely blank into those exams, and then I really struggled. So one important tip for you is that any course that you take, try and talk to other people who might have taken courses, and then ask them what kind of topics are covered in the exams. There is nothing immoral or illegal about it. It could be a problem if you access the actual exam that was given in the prior semester, but there is nothing wrong if you ask seniors what kind of topics should you focus on and what kind of topics should you expect questions from. My third mistake was that I agreed to work on a thesis topic, a topic in which I was actually not really interested. Now, that had two sides to it, alright? The positive side was that because I had worked on a thesis, it helped me get admission into a PhD program, because then I was able to prove that yes, I have some research experience at some level. But the research experience that I actually got working on that thesis was pretty painful. My master's thesis was on a topic called sensor networks and how sensor networks communicate with each other and what kind of connections are made between them. I actually never believed that any of this that I am doing right now in my research for my master's degree is going to be useful to me at any stage of my life. And not just that, I really knew that I was never going to use any of that in my career in future at all. So why would you want to work on a thesis topic which you think is just for the piece of degree and that you will never actually utilize that in any sense whatsoever? So my strong recommendation is that I would actually encourage that you go for a thesis topic, but carefully pick your thesis topic and carefully pick your professor. My professor was good actually. She was actually a good professor, don't get me wrong. But the topic that I picked was a blunder from my side, and I really struggled completing that thesis, and then I actually did not really enjoy working on that particular thesis topic. Mistake number 4 is that I lot of times really believe that whatever is being taught in class is too obvious and I will remember it. See, never ever trust your memory. Even if something is very obvious to you, please make sure that you take notes while the class is going on. If you try to recall everything that was said by your memory, you will most likely forget it. Very few people have photographic memories, but that's not the point. The point is that there will be so many things that will be taught in so many different classes. How can you trust yourself to be able to recall that you at that time thought you would remember? Now, because I had made this mistake many times during my master's program, I actually corrected it during my PhD program. During my PhD program, I realized how much such a mistake can cost you. Therefore, right from the beginning of the first semester in the PhD program, what I used to do is that I used to keep my recording on. On your iPhone, you have this voice memos app. Now, what I used to do is that I used to record everything. For example, whenever I'm in discussions with my advisor on a research topic and whatever we are discussing, I would usually note it down all the time. But then over time, I realized that while he was talking and I was taking notes, the moment I was actually writing that note, he's already on to his next point. And for a few seconds, I would actually not be listening to what he's actually saying. And that way, even though I was taking notes, I was still missing out on valuable content. How did I resolve that mistake? What I started doing is that I started audio recording every single meeting and every single class. Every time I believed that some important point is being made or I should be working on this point, I actually used to note the timestamp. I used to look at my phone, okay, at 13 minutes and 40 seconds, I would quickly write, 13:40, and this is the topic that is being discussed in 1 to 2 words. And I would engage in the conversation or engage in whatever content that is being discussed in class. That actually helped me immensely during the PhD program, but as a master student, I wish I had that wisdom to do that. Let me show you what my voice memos looks like. See, these are all the audio recordings that I've had. For example, Shuchai ISR Ireland. So this is one of the meetings that lasted 40 minutes on that particular date in 2016. All the discussions that we had, and so on. So these are all the topics that I had recorded. Not just that, I used to save all my files on my Dropbox folder. So this is my Dropbox folder where if I click on meeting and discussions, I'll have all the audio files of all the meetings that we have had. I would record the date and whatever the topics of that audio file was. And then I sometimes also used to take transcripts. For example, that particular day, whatever topic that we discussed, let me just open some random file. 7 years ago, on this particular date, the kind of discussion I had with my advisor. Say this is 22nd September 2012. Who were the attendees? Arun Rai and myself. My time, the meeting lasted 2 hours and 17 minutes. And these were all the topics that were discussed in that meeting. And the content of that meeting was taken out from the audio tape that I had recorded and I had taken timestamps from. Mistake number 5 is that I ignored my health and I ate bad. See, in my last semester, I was taking only one course because I had only one class left to complete for my graduation requirements. So most of my focus was on two things. One was finishing my thesis. Second was looking for job opportunities. Now, when it came to working on thesis, it was a real struggle and I used to spend a lot of time in my office. Now, those days, I picked some very bad habits. A horrible habit that I picked up was that in the entire last semester, for entire duration of 4 months, I used to go to Dunkin' Donuts and I used to eat 1 to 2 donuts every single day along with a coffee. Okay, now donuts are nothing but carbs and sugar. Okay, they are very bad for you. And then I did that for straight 4 months. I never used to work out. I never used to go for runs. I never used to go for bicycle. I never used to lift weights. Nothing. On the top of that, every evening, donuts and coffee is a horrible idea. Let me assure you, a lesson that I learned late and pretty harshly is that your health should always be a priority. Always watch your diet. Now, I have made that mistakes many times in my life, but donuts every single day is a horrible idea. I hope whatever I told you was helpful at some level. Thank you for watching. Jai Hind and God bless America.